Well, hello there. Welcome to the beaches of Southern California as we begin another Practice Warriors Rockstar Q&A. Right now, we are going to hang out with a true jazz vocal legend, a man acclaimed not only for his incredible performing skills, but for his dedication to music education as well. Right now, you're going to meet Mike Campbell. Mike has appeared in concerts and jazz festivals all over the world. He's recorded or performed with Sarah Vaughan, Tuck and Patty, Henry Mancini, Nancy Wilson, Ella Fitzgerald, Count Basie, and many others. Mike has also contributed his talents to several movie soundtracks and numerous TV and radio commercials. And speaking of TV, he's performed on over 40 television shows. He also served on the Board of Governors for the Grammys. As an educator, Mike was the chairman of the vocal department at two famous LA music schools, the Grove School of Music and the Musicians Institute. He's got 2 vocal instruction videos released by Warner Brothers and 2 books released by Hal Leonard. He has taught privately for decades and has presented vocal clinics the world over. It's rare that you get to meet someone with so much performing and teaching experience, but today, that's exactly who you're going to meet. He's also truly one of the nicest fellas on planet Earth. You'll see why right now. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Campbell. So Mikey, how you doing?
Oh, we're rolling?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is it.
How am I doing?
Would you expect somebody to come with a slate? All right, Mike Campbell, a video interview, take one. And action. Roll sound.
How am I doing? How am I doing what?
How are you doing in life? You
Life,
okay?
I'm doing fantastic, Christopher.
Yep, you look great.
Feel great.
Yeah.
Thank you. You know.
Yeah. Keeping it going.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to lob a softball your way.
Okay.
All right, first question, softball. You're, I would say arguably one of the nicest human beings on the planet, despite what people say.
Despite what people say.
Despite your reputation.
Which precedes me.
Yes,
Most of the time.
by about 40 miles. And, you have some very lovely, wonderful people who have come in your life.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm one of them.
You are, Christopher, you are.
So why am I like 47th on the list of nice people? Like, shouldn't I be higher? Because I read the Mike Campbell list of 46 lovely people, and I wasn't on it. And then I called the publisher, and they said, well, we stopped at 46. You're 47. So who's in front of me?
Pretty much everybody else.
Is it Lula? Is Lula in front of me?
Some
Is
days.
Tina Hutchinson in front of me?
Some days, not all days.
Right. All right. You know what? I'm going to stick with 47.
All right.
I'm happy with it. I don't want to feel ungrateful.
I don't feel you ever feel ungrateful.
Okay.
I feel you're always grateful.
I am grateful. I'm grateful to sit with you right now, and I'd be grateful if you told me.
I'm grateful to sit with anybody right now.
At my age. So how did you get started? What inspired you to start playing music? And did you, because you're this wonderful vocalist, you play guitar extremely well, and you play piano and stuff. What did you start out on, and what inspired you to start in the first place?
Girls. Let's be honest.
Let's just lay it out
It was
there.
girls.
Yeah. How old were you?
14 when I started on the guitar.
Well, that makes sense. Then.
When actually I started on the drums as a kid.
Oh, really?
My dad was in the business. My dad was a drummer, singer, actor, dancer, big
Really?
player in movies.
Wow.
I did a movie with, you ever heard of the Roy Orbison movie, Fastest Guitar Alive?
I have not, but I've heard of
well,
this man you speak of, Roy Orbison.
Oh, Roy Orbison, God, my voice. So he was in that. But I grew up, and we just, we loved music, loved movies, and we were the second people on our block to have a television.
Wow.
Which was about that big. And everybody in the neighborhood
y'all
would come.
Like, get it, sit in one line so you could see it.
Get out on the floor. Fans. We were just fans.
Wow.
I mean, loved it. Never missed a Sullivan show, never missed whatever, Perry Como, Patty Page. All
Was
those.
music playing a lot in your home?
Yeah, my dad was a swing guy. You know, he actually grew up at times with Gene Krupa, knew Gene, started Dave Cavanaugh in the business. Dave Cavanaugh was the president of Capitol for a while, produced Sinatra and Nat Cole. And so music has always been a part of, you know, my life, my brother's life. My brother was a drummer. Got smart, became a psychologist.
Yeah.
Making some money.
Yeah.
Never run out of patience.
Well, maybe he can explain to you why you weren't smart enough. what those things were in your past. It allowed you to go on a self-destructive route, like play music.
Yeah.
When you started on drums, what made you switch to guitar?
Girls.
You wanted to be closer to the
Well,
edge of the
everybody, I
stage.
mean, that was, you know, everybody was singing and playing guitar. You know, rock came in, and I didn't listen to rock. I danced to rock.
Yeah.
That was, to me, that was dance music. It was not listening music.
Oh, interesting.
And because I was
It had
listening.
great beats, and it was pretty simple, and you
Yeah,
just
yeah.
shake your butt to it. That's fine.
I'll give it a 92, Dick.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was
Yeah.
it was dance music
Sure.
and fun music, and I didn't take it seriously, because we listened to Benny Goodman, we listened to Count Basie, Duke
Sure.
Ellington, all the great bands, and I love that stuff. Mostly because, you know, it swung.
So, if you wanted to get girls,
Yeah.
why stick with jazz?
Well, because I'm not that smart.
Okay, right.
That's what it gets down to.
We gotta talk to your brother. So you had to, I suppose, if you were into that music, you had to sort of learn the harmony of that music. So you probably had to learn some pretty challenging chords. And is that how it started, or was it sort of
Well,
melody?
no, it really started. I was singing sort of, you know, in my bedroom alone. I was a total jock. That was what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a professional athlete, a coach, the whole thing, until I got to junior college and broke my nose and cracked 3 ribs and had Achilles tendons problem. I said, I'm getting killed out here.
What was that sport?
Well, football.
That was football?
Yeah, yeah. And,
Is it back with the Leatherheads? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's the only old guy joke I'll
See, that's why you're 47.
Yeah. It's cracks like that.
That's right.
That's going to keep you on that list.
Well, you know, I just wanted to accompany myself. I didn't want to be a jazz guitar player. I wanted to be Freddie Green with the Basie band.
Sure.
Just
Chomping on those
and
chords.
rhythm
Yeah.
from the drums and the whole thing. I love that. I just thought that was the coolest thing on the planet.
Right.
And then it grew. And then in college, I started as a phys ed major, then went to sociology. And then I finally said, you know, what am I doing? By now, I had started to sing, done a couple of, private parties with some guys type of thing. I said, wow, I love this. And they tell me you can get paid at it. So it's, it's an ugly rumor,
Lies.
but they told me that. and so that's sort of when it really started to get a little serious. And so then I switched to a music major in college.
So it was really later in life. I mean, in terms of like, some people say, well, I knew it when I was 8 or when I was 14, I was doing this. But you made that sort of decision. You went to college, you were surveying the land. You decided, this is something I'm passionate about.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it was growing up with it. I mean, like I said, my brother was a drummer, and he was a professional drummer for a minute. And my dad, always played jobs pretty much till the day he died.
So you saw it as actually a viable way of making a living. Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't a dream to you. It's like, oh, I can actually do this. This is something I can do.
Yeah.
Like you said, there was a room you can get paid for it.
Yeah,
And so you said, let's just do that.
and that looks like fun.
Right? When did the girls commit?
As soon as one said yes. I wasn't that choosy.
Let me ask you again, so you started on guitar, but were you always singing? And was it the plan that you were going to be accompanying your voice?
By that time, yes. But I
Yeah.
mean, I like I said, I started on the drums. It's like a 7-year-old, 8-year-old. I went to tap dancing, and I was a tap dancer for several years. So I mean, I actually took tap dancing because the Oklahoma football team took ballet lessons. And football was my love. And oh my God, if they're doing it, I don't want to take ballet lessons.
Yeah.
You're not putting me in one of those things.
Yeah.
But wow, tap dancing, Gene Kelly, Fred Astaire.
Sure.
Wow,
That
how
was
cool
cool.
is that?
Yeah.
I mean, Gene Kelly was like the coolest guy on the planet.
Right.
So it's, and then it just sort of, well, this is really fun. And I like it. And on and on.
On. So, did you, as you were learning the guitar, did you, or even, well, let me go back for a second.
Okay.
Did you take voice lessons?
No. Not in the beginning. No.
Not in the beginning.
Just saying I was.
So it's really just kind of like, I'm playing guitar and I like the song and I'm just going to sing it.
Yeah. And then folk music came in, really like around 62.
Mm-hmm.
And wow, that was, you had to play guitar.
Yeah.
So I was loving just all those people who did it. So I really kind of started in folk music. And it was, besides the finger picking, which of course was difficult, just playing, C up and G and A minor. That's, they were all basic chords and
Sure.
easily attainable. And it just kind of went on from there. And I liked it. I thought I could sing.
Did anyone else think you could sing?
I didn't ask.
Good.
I didn't want to hear an answer. I thought I could sing.
Right.
So now, like when I got to college, when I switched to music, I met a young lady who I instantly fell in love with. I knew her brother from high school. Mm-hmm. We were friends. Her dad was a singer, pretty well-known singer, died young. So I asked her out, and we went out a couple of times, and we realized that we were in choir together at LA Valley College, and we knew that we were going to be friends. That's all.
Sure.
And 60 years later, she's still like my sister, my baby sister. And that's who I stay with in New York, always go back.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah, and she was a terrific singer, and she got in this group, the Doodletown Pipers, and said, you want to audition? I said, well, how many's in it? She said, well, right now we've got about 100. I said, oh my God, 100? Oh, I don't want to be around 100 singers.
Yeah.
God, no. That's Crazyville.
Yeah.
So then their first show was the Red Skelton Show, which they did with 30. And I called her up after the show, said, can you still give me an audition? She said, of course.
Wow, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, so Doodletown Pipers, not good enough for you until they get on the Red Skelton Show.
Well, no, it was the number. It was strictly the number.
Oh, really?
100 people? Oh.
So you just felt it was silly having so many singers. Where am I going to fit in? Yeah, let's whittle it down a little bit so you could be.
And I didn't, honestly, I didn't particularly want to sing, even in the choir. I wanted to do what I wanted to do.
Which was what?
Which was, I grew up with Sinatra and Tony Bennett and Vic Damone. And of course, Ella and Mel Torme
Sure.
Were the two biggest idols, along with Sinatra. And so that's where I came from. I knew, John Hendricks and Lambert Hendricks and Ross. I became aware of them and Mark Murphy and Jackie Paris. But I thought it was cool, but I grew up with Sinatra, Perry Como,
Sure.
those kind of singers. And so I didn't grow up like so many of the kids today. They're listening to, Kurt Elling when they're 5 years old. And by the time they're 7, they're emulating Kurt Elling.
Yeah, right.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
But we didn't have any of that.
Right.
So we had records and we had movies, and I loved all of that. Loved Fred Astaire. Loved the way Fred Astaire sang.
Yeah.
So easy and fun. But I didn't take any lessons. I could sing. What do I need lessons for? And,
Another one now. Did you struggle with anything in the early days? So let's say before you decided to be a music major, did you struggle with anything, and did you get frustrated with your development on guitar?
Oh, God, yeah. Oh, sure. I mean, I started on a $13 Stella from Sears. Those things hurt.
Yeah. You got to really work for your notes.
Oh, they hurt.
Yeah.
And of course, I mean, it's like struggling for anything else, whether you're a skateboarder or a basketball player. I mean, nothing goes smoothly. Even if you have great talent, you've got to hone those skills, and of course, you got to practice. I mean, that's all there is to it.
What did practicing look like for you?
It looked kind of like no, it wasn't anything that I was particularly thrilled about.
The practicing or playing guitar?
The practicing.
Just working through stuff.
Yeah.
You just wanted it to happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I had, as a kid, I had zero patience. Zero.
You were the Veruca Salt of guitar students. I want it now, Daddy.
That was it.
That was it.
That's one of my oldest daughters. That's one of her classic lines when she was a little girl playing the piano. One day she just slammed her hands down on the piano and said, "I don't want to practice the piano. I just want to play the piano." And she got that from me.
Yeah. So when did you turn that around? Like, when did you start understanding that your reward was going to equal your efforts?
I guess when I finally made that decision to switch to a music major, that this was something I wanted to seriously do. The people that I loved had amazing skills. And I certainly didn't have those skills guitar-wise. I could pretty much sing anything Torme sang, and I learned almost everything Ella sang, and things like that. So I felt, well, I've got skills here. I can do this.
Sure.
But boy, guitar-wise, wow. I mean, when I first heard Wes Montgomery, I almost threw my guitar away. There's no pick. My God, he's playing with his thumb. You can't do that.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, he was just otherworldly. So it became, wow, I better get my head out of your new,
right,
from where it was.
Right.
And, we're on video, right?
Yes,
okay.
yes. But we're not editing that.
Oh, we're not. Thank you, Chris. Just driving the career down.
Yeah. Why not? I've tried everything else.
But yeah, I mean, as I got a little older, I got something resembling a little maturity.
Sure.
And it was like, wow, I really got to put in some time here.
And that was in college, when you started looking at what was out there. Is that really what it was? Yeah. Just seeing what was out there and knowing that if you wanted to compete or even be part of the community,
absolutely,
you had to up your game.
And I saw Kenny Rankin on The Tonight Show, and I'm almost positive it was 1962. So I was 18 years old, and Kenny Rankin playing nylon string, doing exactly what I thought I wanted to do.
Oh, wow.
And he was a killer.
Was that the first time you sort of had a model? You said, that's the way I want to play? And was that sort of the first
pretty
moment?
much so, yeah.
Yeah. How inspiring was that?
Oh, my God. I really, I don't know if I really watched it with my mouth open the whole time, but I feel like I did.
Sure.
I mean, it was an epiphany.
It's funny, we've done a lot of interviews with a lot of people. This is number 47. And, but we've never actually talked about modeling, about finding a person who has more skills than you. They're more, and maybe they're creating a sound that you would like to, if not emulate, be in that ballpark, and let that be a way to inspire you. Did you look into his playing and try to emulate it, or were you just inspired by the level he was at and that made you want to work harder?
Well, I knew that I wasn't playing like that.
Right.
I wasn't playing those chords,
Sure.
and I didn't get that sound, and I didn't have that fluidity.
Of course.
You know.
But did that inspire you to
Oh
go?
yeah.
Oh,
it was
time.
like, wow. I mean, I've got to do that.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was an epiphany. It really was.
Did you know how to go there? So now you see the guy that you're like, yes, this is the guy. And did you know how to get from point A to point B?
Well, I studied with a lot of different guitar teachers. So, I mean, at least I had an idea. I knew I had to study with teachers. I guess I was one of those guys who, as much as I really couldn't stand school, I love to study. I love to learn. Only stuff I want to learn.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had some wonderful teachers. Just guys who could really play. They weren't necessarily great teachers, but they sure impressed the heck out of me.
Sure.
And I wanted to do that. And so, I started to get into advanced books. I mean, God, I remember the Mickey Baker books. My God, what are those chords? Wow. You got to use more fingers.
Yeah.
Wow, this is, and it was.
No open strings?
I mean, it was a huge step, I don't remember it being scary because I wanted it, which of course makes a whole difference, huge difference, as you know. And so when I got in the group, I was singing and I was losing my voice all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the guys in the group was a guy named Steve Swedlin. And he said, gee, why don't you try my mom and dad? They're voice teachers. Because we were in Reno, we were opening for George Burns and Lenny Kazan. And we were doing, opening act, 12 minutes.
Sure.
I was losing my voice.
12 minutes?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then I was, watching Lenny Kazan sing a 30-minute act of closing numbers.
Yeah. Yeah.
My Man's Gone Now, The Impossible Dream, everything was, and I'm just like, my God, how does she do that?
Right.
I lose my voice in 12 minutes. I mean, what's going on here? And so Steve said, yeah, give my parents a shot. Well, they changed my world. They changed my life.
Did you realize that at that point were you just like, well, you either can sing or can't sing, and I could sing, and so I'm just going to sing. And then did you realize at that moment that there was actually skills that you could develop as a vocalist, just like you would with guitar? Was that sort of the first time that?
Really, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, yeah. It was, because, I already said I wasn't that smart, right? I did mention
No,
that.
but we all know that.
Oh, it is so, it's right there out in front.
It is it.
But it was, yeah, again, it was like, wow. I mean, this is a skill. You've got to learn this. Everything is sports. So
Sure.
At that time it was, Elgin Baylor and Jerry West. And I said, these guys must have shot 87,000 free throws.
Yeah.
And I guess I could practice 15 minutes a day.
Right.
So when I got with Sally lead, they taught me, their technique, which was for me perfect because it was simple, straightforward. And for me, that was so easy to learn.
Right.
There were so many teachers in town who shall remain nameless. But, I said, they probably crippled half the singers on the planet because they have so much information. And I don't work that way. So Sally Lee's technique was Lee was with the Metropolitan Opera. Sally was a legendary studio singer.
Mm.
And their technique was just very simple. Taught me how to breathe. I never knew how to breathe. I just, hey, take a breath.
Right.
But you got to breathe with the diaphragm.
Yep.
And wow, it changed my life. And I never had a voice problem in my entire career.
Since then?
I had allergy problems, tons of them.
Sure.
Which of course I lost my voice plenty of times. It's probably the biggest reason I just said one day, okay, Take me out, coach. This is too stressful. And there was no business left.
Sure. Let's change direction for a moment.
Yeah.
Well, I just think it's amazing because we do hear it a lot. You either can sing or you can't. You got to be talented to sing. I think a lot of people also hear a singer, and then they try to sing like that, and they can't, and then they go, "Well, I can't sing," without realizing that their voice is their voice.
Their voice.
It's their instrument, and they're a saxophone trying to sound like a tuba.
Right.
And it's like, just discover your voice. It's like when you worked with me, and Mike probably doesn't want it out that this voice was worked on by him.
One of the low points in my life.
Yes, so we understand this. And if you can make this thing sing, then you're a miracle worker, obviously. But one of the things you taught me, you didn't teach it to me, but you enlightened me to it, was to discover what your instrument can do.
Absolutely.
Because I had no idea what my instrument was capable of, and what its limitations were, and what its strengths were. And to be clever enough to go, let's work on everything, but let's play to your strengths.
It's, to answer your question, can everybody sing? I think basically to a point, pretty much yes. But one of the big problems, of course, is psychologically, no, everybody can't sing. They won't allow themselves to sing. They're too afraid to sing, they're whatever.
Why do you think that is?
Oh, a lot of it's parents when you're growing up. Shut up. You're awful. What makes you think you can sing? All those kinds of things.
Negative associations with it.
Yeah. It's horrible. But you have to find your own voice. I mean, let's face it. Sinatra was Sinatra. Ella Fitzgerald was Ella Fitzgerald.
Yep.
Mick Jagger is Mick Jagger.
Yep. Sure. All three amazing.
All three absolutely amazing. And all
Yep.
three found their voice.
Yep.
I first heard Mick Jagger and I was like, really? But then I saw him, and of course, he's a brilliant performer.
Yep.
And you get used to the voice. Bob Dylan, come on.
Sure. We can go down the list.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Bobby.
So how does one find their voice?
Well, I think it's like finding freedom, finding emotional freedom. I remember a student I had, lovely woman. She was a stewardess, and she had a little voice, that big. I kept saying, I can't hear you. She goes, what? I said, I'm singing as loud as I can sing. And it was like, what? I said, you're a stewardess, right? You talk.
You're right.
So she had all that negative stuff as a kid.
So there was like a blockage. She could speak, she could enunciate, she could project, but then when it came to singing, there was that block.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So certainly as a teacher, then you try to find ways to get through that block.
So who's the psychologist in the family?
Well, we're low-paid psychologists.
Yeah, there you go.
Right? There you go.
Well, but you absolutely are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if somebody plays a bad note on the guitar or on the saxophone, crack, then you gotta look at the saxophone kind of funny, like why did you do that? But when people sing, they're so critical of themselves. You were explaining that a lot of times it's negative associations from the past. Isn't it more than that though? Isn't voice so deeply personal that people can be so much more critical about their voice rather than an external instrument?
Oh, I would agree 100%. Yeah, singing is such an emotional thing to do. I have trouble articulating the power of the emotion that many times stops us from singing. There's been surveys done on the scariest thing for human beings, and many times giving a speech
Public
number
speaking?
one. Yeah,
Absolutely.
public speaking.
So singing is like public speaking times 10.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a powerful, powerful emotional thing that many people simply have to overcome.
How do they overcome that?
Wow.
Besides just get up, just go do it, kid. Just get out there and do
Well,
it.
that certainly is one way. I think everybody has a different road. I mean, you have to work with each student differently.
Of course.
And for some people, it's so deep-seated for almost having nothing to do with singing.
Sure.
It's all that other stuff.
The self-worth,
Yeah.
all these other
Yeah,
things.
that's a ton of it.
Yeah.
And it's always a challenge. And then the insecurity. I had a student, and this was a famous student. I'm not going to say who it was. But she was a star. She was a Broadway star. She was a movie star. She showed up in one of my classes at the Dick Grove School years ago. And I'm reading, it's a performance class, and I'm reading down the list first day. Joe Schmo, Freddie Schmo.
And then you read the name.
And I stopped.
I thought we'd get it out of him.
And I looked up, and she's sitting there. And I said, "My God, you're..." She said, "Yes." I said, "Wow, I'm a big fan." And what are you doing here?
Right.
I mean,
Yeah, you figure she's got it all together.
well, yeah, she's...
Yeah.
I don't want to give too much away, but I mean, she was a major figure on Broadway, in the movies,
Well,
and a complete sweetheart. Well, if you gave her a part, she was brilliant. But now if you said, okay, just be you, whoa.
she hadn't found her voice.
Well, she hadn't found something. I mean, as with so many actors, especially you see it with actors, yeah, they can play a part, they can do anything. And then Jean Arthur was always one of my favorite actresses. I loved her, just loved her. Do you know who she is?
Yep.
Oh, thank God. Well, I just watched a Jean Arthur movie I hadn't seen. And she just was her usual adorable, wonderful, warm self. And then the special features afterwards, they talked about, it was Frank Capra Jr. Establishing that she was incredibly difficult to work with.
Oh, no.
Yeah, which was like, what? Wait a minute here. This is one of the great loves of my life.
Yeah.
How could that possibly be? She was so insecure.
Yeah.
They had to literally drag her out of the trailer, get her to the stage,
Right.
and then when he said action, she became Jean Arthur.
Wow.
And there are so many stories like that.
Sure.
It's allowing yourself to be vulnerable, allowing yourself not to be perfect.
Right.
And those are hard things. The whole perfect thing is, that's powerful.
Did you ever experience that? Were you ever down on yourself in whether it was a performance or a recording, or have you ever experienced anything like that? Where you were really insecure
As a guitar player, practically every day of my life.
Is it because you were still comparing yourself to Wes Montgomery and these
Well,
legends?
that was that was certainly part of it. The singing thing, and I don't have an answer for this. I don't know why. The singing thing was always a piece of cake for me.
Interesting.
I
Even with that whole thing of finding your voice and being insecure, you just felt it.
I didn't. It
Maybe
was
because you were so. Maybe because I don't want to say it came easy to you, but because there was a comfortability always. Maybe you didn't have that kind of insecurity. Maybe you were maybe breezy about it. And maybe because you also loved guitar and you felt those limitations acutely, that you had an insecurity with music, which was guitar. Am I close?
Well, no. I think that's all part of it.
Yeah.
I always felt I can do this, and wow, this is fun. And the reason that I didn't want to be in a choir or be in a group, because I wanted to do what I wanted to do what Sinatra did. I wanted to do what Billie Holiday did. I wanted to interpret a song.
More models.
Yeah.
More people for you to go, that's what
Absolutely.
I want to do.
I wanted to do and take it where I wanted to take it. So that was the fun, being creative. And, hey, it's all about the music.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it is, but it isn't. Because there's so much more than that. I was always, I don't know why, I was always completely comfortable walking on stage singing a song.
Right.
But playing, oh my God, I beat myself. I used to look like George Clooney.
Yeah. And just all these years of just self-loathing. They've really done.
But I still beat myself up.
Yeah.
When I just do it now, it's just for pure fun and therapy.
Right. Beating yourself up or playing guitar?
Playing guitar.
Okay.
I've gotten over the beating.
Self-loathing only goes so far.
But I mean, I used to tell the students at Grove and at MI, they'd say, because I would make jokes about my guitar playing, say, well, how come you're not a better guitar player? I said, because I didn't practice. I didn't practice the way I was supposed to practice. If you're looking at whoever, Wes Montgomery, whoever you want to name, they're like, whatever, Kobe Bryant. They're practicing 7, 8, 9, 10 hours a day.
Yeah.
They're playing their instrument. I was just, I can play and I can sing and I got that.
Yeah, but what's cool is that you knew that. And you didn't think that there was something wrong with you or you didn't have the right gene. You said, yeah, well, what do you expect? They put in this much time. I put in this much time. I should be grateful for what I got.
Well, I mean, one of my not so famous sayings is always, if I could have done it any better, I would have. So, I mean, I don't know. Some people say, well, maybe he's too easy on himself. Maybe I was. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it worked for me. And I think that's what we as humans try to do, figure out what works for us and how do we improve and how do we grow. But I'm not going to be a Luciano Pavarotti. I could practice 14 hours a day. Not going to happen.
Right.
So, some voices, they are gifts from whomever. But most everybody can sing. And if you can, God, John Prine.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, one of the great storytellers, Tom Waits.
Tom Waits.
Oh, Tom Waits. Sure. I love Tom Waits. I mean, he's amazing.
Yeah.
But it's, for lack of a better term, they call it singing.
Yeah. Sure. Elongated spoken word performance.
Well, that's right.
Sure.
And when you listen to Sinatra, so much of that is just speaking on
Absolutely.
pitch.
Yep.
And that's with pop music, I would say it's a little different. There is more singing. There's less conversational.
Yeah, of course.
Type of
right.
Singing.
You've told me on many occasions that you never knew how to practice.
Correct.
Until you worked with Ted Green.
Ted Green.
Great guitar player, legend.
Legend.
What changed? What did he teach you?
He taught me how to practice.
And what was that? What was missing?
Oh my God, almost everything. when it came to my guitar playing, because singing wise, I knew I had to do my scales. I had to warm up my voice.
Yeah, you were kind of set with that. You had your set warm ups, and you were making sure your voice was staying strong and all that, and making that more automatic.
And I knew I had to, in a sense, speak like I sang, breathe properly, do what I do to save my voice, because I was teaching 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Forever.
Very challenging. One of the things you said to me when we first started working together as my vocal instructor, you said, I tell everyone to sing like they speak. I never want you to do that. Because you actually sing better than you speak. So do that. So thank you very much for that. Well, let's get back to Ted. So what specifically did he say you were doing wrong, or was it wrong? And what did he instill in you was, this is proper practice?
Well, one of my clearest memories is like he would, give me a new piece, write me a new piece, and I would try to play it immediately. And of course I would screw it up, and and he'd go, Mike, slow down. Look through it. Find what you feel you can play immediately, and find the hard sections. Then you take it 2 bars at a time. You slow it down until you can play it fluidly. Is that a word?
Yes.
Thank you.
We have a thesaurus.
Oh, good. Okay. I need it.
Got a whole team back here. No, that is absolutely...
Slow it down.
That's the secret.
Slow it down.
Yeah.
Slow it down. 1 bar at a time. 2 bars at a time.
Don't
play the whole thing.
Yeah.
2 beats at a time. I mean, just don't play it until you can play it.
Right.
And if you need to work on those 2 measures for the week, you work on them for the week.
Right.
Don't play them fast. He said, speed will come. Speed will come. And of course, it's certainly today, it's higher, faster,
Sure.
louder. But in order to build that kind of speed, you've got to be able to play it slowly.
Right. Yeah, because you want to play it correctly.
Correctly.
So if you're not playing correctly,
cleanly.
if you're not playing it correctly slow, you ain't gonna play it right fast.
Yeah.
With what you do as a jazz vocalist is improvisation.
Mm-hmm.
So many people are scared to death of improvising, soloing, creating their own melodies. As a singer, to do that, not play a fixed pitch instrument, but to use your voice, I think that is such a bridge too far for a lot of people. How did you develop your improvisational skills, and how do you recommend someone to learn that? How to basically just sing something off the cuff and have it sound good?
Well, I mean, we get back to that freedom, talking about emotional freedom. I mean, the big fear is, oh my God, what if I make a mistake? Miles Davis said, there are no mistakes.
All right.
You just go into the right note.
Yeah. Right. No bad notes, just bad resolutions.
It's, I think, number one, listening is huge. I mean, I grew up, I listened to Ellen. That's, right.
Yeah.
Lift the needle, try to find that spot again.
Yeah.
Boy, what did she do there? Wow.
Yeah.
Ruined a lot of albums that way. Had to rebuy them.
Yeah.
But
she thanks you, by the way.
Mel Torme, same thing.
Right. So it's really just studying the people who were doing it. So were you emulating their solos? Were you singing along with them?
As a kid, oh sure.
It's almost like the vocal equivalent of transcribing.
Absolutely. Yeah. Although I didn't even know that word.
Sure.
So, I was just, I was copying Ella. Trying to do what she did.
Mimicking.
Trying to do what Mel did. Of course, now, I mean, it's mind-boggling the tools you have in your tool chest today.
Sure.
Plus all the great jazz programs at so many colleges.
But nevertheless, you still got to do it.
You got to do it.
You got to do it. So for a guitar player, sax player, trumpet player, trombone, it's, learn your scales.
Yeah.
Learn your scales, know them inside and out, know where they are on your instrument, know your range, and then you try them in thirds, you try them in fourths, you do intervallics, you do sequences, you do all these kind of calisthenics of scales, and then, of course, now create something with it. Listen to melodies, play melodies. What's the vocal equivalent of that, or is there?
Well, I mean, the college programs now, they want to keep them for 4 years.
Yeah.
So they got to teach all this other stuff. And sadly, in my opinion, I'm getting on a new topic, but they leave out what I think is the important stuff, the emotional, the communication, the storytelling. But to the question, it's all of that, but so many singers, I would say when I was growing up, were not players, did not play an instrument. So I guess one of the great things about being a singer is, well, I don't have to worry about what my fingers are doing.
You have a direct connection
Yeah.
with the music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's getting...
There's no conduit. It's like there's no stop. That, I hear it, but I can't do it.
Yeah. Wow.
You can do it.
Is that the fifth string?
Yeah, right.
But I mean, one of the things I always taught was that no thinking. There's no thinking. You're just creating music. You're creating a new melody. Now it's finding the freedom to allow yourself to do that. Wow, I could make up the wrong melody.
Right.
So what? You're not going to die. I mean,
Yeah.
You're going to make mistakes. But you learn from the mistakes. Okay, you made a mistake. Get out of it. Keep going and try to get back. Mel Torme called his scatting digestible scat, which when I first heard that, I wanted to drive to his house and hurt him because I thought it was such a disgusting phrase. But when I mentioned I had a little maturity.
Yes. Thanks for not doing that. This wouldn't be going on right now. You'd be just getting out.
That's right. That's right. I thought, wow, that truly makes sense, especially for Mel Torme and Ella Fitzgerald, who grew up in the entertainment business. They didn't grow up in the jazz business. They grew up in the entertainment business. It was very important to them to entertain the audience.
Make people happy.
Yes.
Yep.
So Torme especially, never got out of, he never sang, in a sense, sharp 5, sharp 9, sharp 11s. Those were the jazz notes. He stayed
diatonic.
Diatonic.
Keep it in the key.
Yes.
Use the scale.
And add, rhythmic stuff, because that's
Sure.
very important.
Yeah. So that's what he really meant. It's that I'm not too hip for the room.
Right.
And I can sing something that everybody can enjoy listening to. Digestible.
I'm working a room that seats 3,000 people, and Mark Murphy's working a room that seats 75.
Yeah. There you go.
So we're not going to exchange
Right.
checkbooks. But yeah, I mean, he kept it. It was entertaining. He didn't want to be too hip for the room.
Sure.
He wanted, Fred from Iowa to go, well, yeah, it sounded pretty good. I don't know what he's doing, but it sounded pretty good.
Right.
As opposed to when you hear, some jazz players, it's like, whoa, what was that?
Yeah.
But that, of course, that's, for us, that's the cool stuff.
Sure.
Those are the fun notes, the money notes.
Right.
But
we're one of the 75 people.
That's for the 75 people, if you're lucky enough to get 75 people. But it's the freedom, it's the letting go. And then it's using your ears. And then as you do it more, and hopefully if you learn more, and you learn, what a 2-5-1 is, and you hear it, and you start to be able to sing.
Right.
Those changes.
Right.
And I mean, it's great fun. It's something that if I never heard scat again,
You're good.
it'd be okay. I'm good. But when you hear it done brilliantly,
right.
Wow.
It's quite a thing.
Yeah, it's like hearing, whatever, Miles Davis.
Sure.
Any of the great ones.
What's interesting is that the people improvise vocally all the time when they feel they can write their own songs. And so if someone's strumming on a guitar or playing a piano, and they play a couple chords they like, and they start developing a melody, that in and of itself is improvisation.
Absolutely.
Because they are creating the melody from nothing.
Absolutely.
And I think that is something that really is a great bridge to vocal improvisation. It's just basically, just create a melody. You don't have to change it, just sing the same thing over and over. Yeah, there's your melody.
Yeah.
Now you did that.
Yeah.
Now let's create another one. Let's use the same chord progression. Let's
I
do
mean,
another one.
with real, beginners starting on, this is a note, I would just play like a C chord and try to, just sing some notes over the C chord.
Yeah,
See what comes up,
right.
I mean,
Again, trying to be fearless.
yeah,
Because as soon as I hit a note that's not good with that chord,
yeah.
Right?
I
Right?
don't want to do that. Yeah,
how do you get someone to not do that?
I slap them.
Good, yeah. Well, corporal punishment is a dying art, and I think we should bring it back.
No, it's you try to support, be positive, and again, let them know that nobody's asking you to be perfect. This isn't about perfect. Although well, you hear so much music today, and of course
Everything's all fixed.
everything is perfect because they can fix everything.
Yeah.
I think that's horrible. But
Yeah, leaving the
it's not that I don't love pop music.
Sure.
But it's the thing that I truly love about jazz is that freedom. And, you don't, I mean, Billie Holiday is of course the example. She never scattered a note in her life.
Yeah.
And it's,
Very limited range.
yeah,
Octave and
arguably,
a half, maybe?
certainly people think she's the greatest jazz singer ever.
Yeah.
Well, I would say she was maybe the greatest storyteller of jazz.
Interpreter
Yeah.
of a song, yeah.
And to me, that is more important. But that's not really what's taught in jazz programs. It's really,
You feel that's the disconnect. I think, what's funny, your advertisement was in the LA Weekly as a staple. I think it was in the LA Weekly.
Music Connection.
Okay, that's why I totally forgot about Music Connection. Sorry, it's been a while.
Yeah.
So the Music Connection which is even, geared towards the musicians. Yeah. And you had your ad there, and what was your catchphrase? Unlock the magic. I think that was what it was. Come and unlock the magic. Don't look at me funny. That's what it was.
You're asking me to remember?
No, that's what I'm telling you what it was.
Okay.
So is that what you were talking about? Was that the magic of just trying to get that freedom and allow yourself to express it, warts and all, bad notes and all, and be comfortable with that and develop that?
That's where the magic is. That's where the magic is. It's just, I mean, I understand it's scary to go there.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm, as a guitar player, I'm just as scared as everybody else.
Yeah.
And I beat myself up, and so I understand all those fears.
Right.
But for me, luckily, I didn't have those as a singer.
Yeah. So how can you empathize? I mean, is it really relating it to your insecurities on guitar? Is that what it is?
Well, yeah, mostly.
Yeah. And just being a human being.
And being a human being.
Yeah, knowing that this is what we all feel.
Yeah. And it is really, I mean, it's everybody. Depending on any kind of situation. If you walk me into a whatever, IBM, to a business meeting, whoo, okay, now I'm scared, now I'm sweating. I'm not comfortable in that kind of a situation.
Right. It's unfamiliar.
It's unfamiliar.
Yeah.
And I might make a mistake.
Ooh. Then they'll all know.
That's
Fraud. I remember doing a vocal lesson with you, and it was my first album, and I was putting the songs together for it. And there was a deeply, deeply emotional song. Mm-hmm. And I go, listen, this song is top of my range, and I'm doing falsetto, and I'm doing full voice, and I want to sing it for you because it's doing everything that I could possibly do as a singer, which is not much, but using my voice, and knowing what my voice could do. And I sang this song, and I could barely get through it, bawling, crying, all the emotion was out. Mm-hmm. And I was so embarrassed. I'm like, oh my God, I'm crying in front of my contemporary. You're my teacher, but we were contemporaries.
Yeah,
we were fellow instructors.
Right.
And here I am, practically dry heaving to get through this song. And I open my eyes, and you're looking at me, and I go, Mike, I'm sorry. And you went, but it was magic. It was magic. You were totally vulnerable. You were in the song. You were there. And it came across. Yeah, you fell apart, okay? So don't go that far. But what is that? Is that the kind of thing that inspires you from singers? That connection to the emotional element of a song, part of the story.
For me, that's it. That's the magic.
That's the match. That's what I was thinking.
The other part is technical mastery.
Yeah.
Which is
Sing the right
becomes so
notes
commonplace now that it's, it's just...
Where's the emotion?
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you balance that? How do you balance being the technician? You're focusing on your tone and your placement and your breath support and all this, and then get away from that and tell the story.
Well, I can only answer for myself. I never focused on those things. I mean, I knew I could sing, and some nights, boy, I sang well, and other nights, not so much.
I suppose when it becomes, for you, it came easy.
For me, it came easy, but I was always number one was always communicate, tell the story. It's a beautiful story. There's also a beautiful melody.
Right.
And I love the melodies, but it's to tell the story. For a lot of people, and it's really obvious, I'm here to impress you. Look what I can do.
Right.
Thanks, check please.
Yeah.
Because there's 47,000 other people who can do the same thing.
You want to be moved.
I want to be moved. That's what I'm paying my money for.
Right.
I just saw a guy tonight before we did this.
Sure.
Very talented. Trumpet player, singer, young guy. Very talented. Good for him.
That was another thing you would say, and you never said it to me, but I've heard you say it, and I've heard other people tell this story, and it was kind of like your catchphrase. I know you're getting nervous, but you're gonna like it. You suck. No, you were like, it was great, it was wonderful. I didn't feel anything. And is that?
I remember that line. Yeah, used it a lot.
Yeah, and that's so. That is so important, isn't it? And can an instrumentalist also make someone feel something?
Oh my God, yes. Geez, I just put a thing up on my Facebook a few weeks ago. Keith Jarrett playing "Somewhere Over the Rainbow." My God, when I first got it, somebody sent it. It was like, oh my God, it was.
What was it about that performance?
Everything. Have you ever seen Keith Jarrett play?
Of course.
He's standing and he's he's into all that. It's like
he's singing while he's playing.
Yeah,
those engineers must have hated him. Could you stop singing?
Yeah, well, it used to bug me too, but it was. Wow! Talk about magic. It was exquisite.
You can't even put it into words.
No.
It's just a feeling, a connection that you have.
Absolutely.
That maybe someone else doesn't have.
Yeah. Obviously, there's a lot of people hiding a lot of stuff on this planet.
Yeah.
And that's probably why we're in the shape we're in. But yeah, it's, the arts, whether it's dance or acting or singing or playing, to me, it's about the feel, the feeling, the emotion, the honesty of the storytelling. And, we're here to paint a picture. I want you to be over the rainbow with me, whatever.
Right.
It's, and the other stuff, I hope, I hope your technique maybe is, a little better than Monk's.
Sure.
But, but I'm still impressed when I see somebody who has ridiculously magnificent technique.
Sure.
For about a minute. Okay.
Sure.
Great notes.
Right.
Move me.
Right.
And if you can't move me, man, I'm out of here.
Like you said.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a musical equivalent of someone shredding on the guitar or playing a bunch of fills on the drums, and it's like, I'm not feeling it.
Yeah.
I'm not feeling when Virgil Donati, the great drummer, Australian drummer, first came to town, people were very interested in him because he was such a technician. And I played with him at the NAMM show in this sort of coming out party. Mm-hmm. This is everyone's moment to see this human octopus play drums. And when we did, and we have Brett Garson and TJ Helmrich on guitar, and John Stevens, this incredible New Zealander singer. And for some reason, they brought me along. And we played 8 pop songs. 8 pop songs. No fusion, no jazz, no crazy stuff. And I asked them, I go, these are pretty easy songs. There's nothing to highlight your incredible technique. Why are we doing this? These people all have heard about you and they want to see you. And he goes, yeah, I want to play groove. I want to show them that I can lay it down. And for 4 songs, he laid it down and it was crushing. And then he did a 15-minute drum solo that just shook the earth. And they went, ah, and then we went right back to the groove. And I think it's important that, like you said, yes, I can do all this, but I also want to move you. Yeah. And I think it's very difficult to find that balance.
Wow. It's seemingly nearly impossible.
Yeah.
It's just...
I guess you've got to have some technical mastery to be able to deliver your...
Well, you absolutely have to have some technical skills. You have to.
Some people might go, well, I just want to emote the song. I don't want to take lessons and mess with my voice. And look, that's going to change me. I just want to... And
those would be singers.
Yeah. And that's going to be a little rough. Yeah. So you do have to have sort of both.
Yeah. I had a student years ago. She was an older woman, sweetheart, just such a nice lady. And she had a nice voice. She could sing, but she couldn't find one, with a stick. But she ended up doing cruise ships. She quit her career. She had a good career. I can't remember what it was, but the reason she was taking classes and studying with me was because she had some money. She saved some money. And she always wanted to sing, and she could sing. And she was very sweet, and she communicated well. She just, every once in a while, took a left.
Oh. I think she found one, though.
Well, yeah. She ran into it every once in a while.
Yeah.
But, she worked cruise ships for a couple of years.
Very cool. There's another, I don't know why all these Mike Campbell things are coming to mind now, but I remember we were at the IAGE conference. I think it was in Chicago. And
I remember that. That's the coldest I've ever been in my life.
It was brutal cold. And I was playing at a booth, and Sid Jacobs was there. Great jazz guitarist. Yes, and I fancied myself a jazz musician. And so I brought my little reel book, in case Sid wanted to play some tunes. And Sid's like, yeah, I'll play with you. So he goes, let's do this song. And I opened my reel book, which was the first clue I shouldn't even have been engaged in this activity. And you're there being sweet and supportive. And so I opened the book, and it's something simple. I play like Green Dolphin Street or something that I should have known. And I got my book by my feet, sitting there, and I got my bass. And I go, let's do it. And he goes, okay. And he, as jazz musicians do, plays a little introduction. And I'm like, wait. Why isn't he playing that? And then he starts playing, and I'm like, I don't really know where I am. Why aren't you playing the thing? And stumble through that. And then he goes, calls another tune, he'll play through it, and just train wreck, because again, I have no idea where the melody's starting. And I think we did maybe 3 songs, and I think Sid was like, okay, good. And I'm like, I think there's a puddle of sweat, whatever. And I put the bass down, and I walk up to you, and you go, well, you can't be great at everything. And I think right there, I'm like, all right, maybe I can play jazz, but I don't think it's, I'm just going to say I can play it. Which was strange enough. I made most of my career playing jazz, but very specific sort of orchestrated, composed, compose songs,
Yeah.
elements of improvisation. But how important, it was a great thing to say, because you're very sweet, but you don't take prisoners. How important is it for someone to go, this really is the thing? Like you said, Sinatra does Sinatra. Dylan does Dylan. These people do what they do. Mm-hmm. How important is it for someone to find something they do? Like, what's the cutoff of, I want to do this, but maybe I shouldn't do this, because maybe the thing I should do is something else?
I guess my answer would be you follow your heart. Somewhere reality has to come into it.
Right.
But I mean, I love jazz. That's what I wanted to do. My first real audition was at Capitol when I was 18. And they did an audition, got to sing in Studio A.
Nice.
Frank sang.
Nice.
So I did the audition, and the producer, who was a big producer at the time, Curly Walter, and he said, I love what you do, and we're going to sign you, can't wait to do the album, blah, blah, blah. And Dave Cavanaugh was running the company at the time, who, rumor has it, is my brother's godfather. We never got that for sure.
Right.
And Dave's the one who said, Mike, you're very good. You're not ready. And of course I was, what? I was like 18 years old, full of vinegar.
Yeah.
I was upset. Of course, he was totally right. But he sent me to a great manager named Bullets Durgam.
Great name.
Giant at the time. Giant guy. Had major people. And he played the demo, the audition. And he said, wow, man, you're good. He said, but he said, you don't really sound like a pop singer. You sound like a little kind of jazz influence. I said, well, that's really what I want to do. And he said, well, I can't book you. It was like 1962. All the American jazz people were moving to Europe.
Yep.
Because there was no work here.
Right. Like you said, there's a big folk scene now, and rock was coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I tried to do all those other things, because I did, especially the folk scene. I love that. I love that music. But in hindsight, I guess I kind of sound like, Mel Torme sings folk.
Sure. Well, but it wasn't where your heart was.
No, not
And it was the
really.
same thing with me with jazz. I played jazz my whole life. But when I would go home, I'd listen to rock records and pop albums and funk and this kind of thing. And so I think that's, like you said, yes, I could do this, but this is where my heart is, and this is probably where I'll excel. So maybe that's the answer to my question. You find out what the music that moves you, and you move towards that.
Yeah.
Is that a good answer, Mike Campbell?
I think it's a good answer.
Okay.
I mean, it's a struggle. It took me many years of doing all these other things,
right,
musically, to survive.
Sure.
Before I finally got to jazz. But, you have to survive.
Right.
I mean, that's the reality.
If you're a musician making money, of course. If you're a novice, then you can follow your muse. But
if you're a novice just having fun and doing it for the love of it, my God, just do what you love to do.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
But
then you were also able to turn that around and make jazz what you did.
Yeah. I mean, I finally got to the point, and teaching allowed me to do that.
Yeah.
Because I know, I can make the house payment. I can
Sure.
put the food on the table. I'm not singing, Tie a Yellow Ribbon one more time.
Yeah.
I'm going to hurt somebody. Stop doing casuals. Clubs were, dying faster than we could, speak. So, yeah, it was pure jazz, big band, small groups, anything. And, boy, I had a lot of fun.
It's very cool.
It is a lot of fun. I mean, if you're not having fun in the arts, it's you. Really. I mean,
right.
You got to be having fun doing this, because it's about love.
Right.
And it's about your heart and all that stuff. And it brings joy. And if it doesn't, something's wrong. Something's very, very
Or
wrong.
maybe it's just not for you. And maybe there's something else that can bring you joy.
Sure.
Maybe pottery, jogging, like some other
Tap
type of
dancing.
an enrichment.
I love tap dance.
Yeah. We were going to have you do a little soft shoe.
Oh,
first, but I
please,
think we're
please.
good.
Okay.
No. All right, we'll do it. Well, Mikey, thank you so much for sitting down with us.
Chris,
And
it's such a pleasure sitting down with her. You,
off
not
camera,
so
my
much.
wife, who's now just has her hands in the air, waving it like she just don't care. Thank you so much, buddy, for
My
sitting
pleasure.
down with
Thanks
us.
for asking, man. I love this.
Yeah.
This is great.
Appreciate
Love
it.
you, Chrissy
I
Maloney.
love you.
You are a special human being, my friend.
Thank you.
And you're even more of a special human because you put up with this. Yeah, I'm putting you in for sainthood.
There you go. We got that on camera, too.
Okay.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.